Hello everyone, I am your host Ayushi Karasethia and welcome back to our channel Pabbly. In this video, we are going to learn how you can automatically notify team members on Google Hangouts for new activity in Zoho Invoice. So the idea here is that you are a business owner and you are creating some invoices for your customers using your Zoho Invoice account. Now you want to inform your team that we have created a new invoice for so and so customer and you want to share those details on your Google Hangouts platform. So the idea here is that whenever you create a new invoice in your Zoho Invoice account, automatically your team should get a notification on Google Hangouts that the invoice is created. For this, we need to create a connection between Zoho Invoice and Google Hangouts. So in order to create a connection, we are going to use a software application named Pabbly Connect. So basically, Pabbly Connect is an automation and integration software which will help us in integrating Zoho Invoice with Google Hangouts automatically. The best part here is it doesn't require any coding skills or programming knowledge. Even a non-technical person can use this software application very easily. So in this particular automation, we are creating the invoices in Zoho Invoice and we are sending the messages on Google Hangouts. So you can use this particular automation for any activity which happens in your Zoho Invoice and you can send the messages to your team on Google Hangouts. So let us learn the integration process now on my screen. So welcome back to my screen. Here let us type Pabbly, pabbly.com in our browser. This is the website of Pabbly. Here we have to come to products and click on Pabbly Connect. This is the landing page of Pabbly Connect. As you are the first time user, you have to click on sign up for free option and you can create your own account in just 2 minutes. And you are going to get 100 tasks free every month. As I already have an account with Pabbly Connect, I'll simply click on sign in. In the all apps section, come to Pabbly Connect and click on access now. This is the dashboard of Pabbly Connect. Here we have to create a workflow. For that, come to this plus sign and click on create workflow. Now here we have to give a name to the workflow. So let us give the name as Zoho Invoice to Google Chat Integration. Here you can give the workflow name as per your requirement and simply click on create. Now here we can see a trigger window and an action window. So Pabbly Connect works on the concept of trigger and action. Trigger means when this happens, action means do this. So in this use case, we want to notify our team members on Google Chat platform for whatever new activity we are doing in Zoho Invoice. So open this trigger window, choose the application name as Zoho Invoice. Here we have to select the trigger event as new invoice. Here we are selecting the trigger event as new invoice, okay, but there are a list of other trigger events also. So this particular automation can be used for any activity which is done in your Zoho Invoice, okay. You can use any other trigger event available from this list. Now here we can see a webhook URL and some instructions. So by following these instructions, you can set up the webhook in your Zoho Invoice account. So I'll just copy this webhook URL from here and I'll take you to my Zoho Invoice account. So this is my Zoho Invoice dashboard. Here we can find the settings option. Click on settings and here we can find the automation option. Click on automation and here we are going to just click on this webhooks option. Now here we are going to add a new webhook by clicking on this plus sign, new webhook. Now it is asking me to give a name to the webhook. So let us give it the name as Google Chat Integration. Okay, and here we have to select the module as invoice. Now here URL to notify. Here the URL is required. So we will be pasting the same webhook URL which we have copied from Pabbly Connect. The method we will be selecting it as a post. Authorization type as self-authorization. Okay. Here we don't want to give some parameters. So I'm just removing the parameters fields from here. Okay. Entity parameters, append all parameters. And let's click on save. So here we can see that the webhook has been saved over here. That is Google Chat Integration. Okay. Now let's move back to Pabbly Connect. So we have done this first step. Now the second step needs to be done. For that, I'll again take you to my Zoho Invoice account. and here we'll be clicking on workflow rules. And here we are just going to create a new workflow rule by clicking on this plus sign. Here we have to give a name to the rule. So let us give it as rule for Google Chat. Okay, I'm just giving a random name. Here we have to select the module as invoice and let's click on next. Now choose when to trigger. Workflow type, here we are going to select it as event based, and here when an invoice is created. So this particular trigger is going to run whenever a new invoice is created. Okay. Now again click on next. We are going to just skip this step, filter the triggers, click on next. Now here we have to select the immediate actions, the type. So select the type as webhooks, and from here we are going to select the webhook name that we have recently created, that is Google Chat integration. Okay, and let's click on save. The workflow has been created. Okay, so here we can see that our new rule for Google Chat has been saved. Okay, now let's move back to Pabbly Connect. So we have done both the steps over here. Now we have to just click on recapture webhook response button. Do you wish to recapture the response? Let's click on yes. And here we can see that it is waiting for the webhook response. So in order to capture the response, we have to do a test submission. It means we are going to create a new invoice in our Zoho Invoice account. So let's move to Zoho Invoice. And from here, I'm just moving back to my home page. Come to the invoices section and click on this plus sign to create a new invoice. Here we have to select a customer name. So let us select it as Ms. Sonam Namdev. Here, let's scroll down. Invoice number is automatically captured. If you have the order number details, you can give it over here. Invoice date as today's date, that is 9th of April 2022. Terms due on, so I'm selecting it as due on receipt. Here the due date is automatically captured. If you want to change the due date, you can change it over here. Let us add the item details over here. Let us select it as Redmi. Quantity as, let us give it as 100. Now here we have to select type or click to select an item. So I'm just going to remove this extra field from here. Let's scroll down. Okay. And I'm just selecting this option. I have received the payment. Payment mode as cash. If you want to email, you can select this option as per your requirement. I'm just unchecking it. Okay. And let's click on save. The invoice has been created. Okay. And here we can see the responses received and all the details of the invoice are captured over here. Okay. Here we can find the amount. Let's scroll down. Here we can find the quantity. Here we can find the item name. And this is the invoice number. When we scroll down, okay, I'm just finding the name of the customer and other details. Yes, here we can find the customer name and here we can find the customer ID and here we can find the invoice date. So now we want to send a message on Google Hangouts or Google Chat that an invoice is created for this particular customer. For that, come to this action step. Choose the application name as Google Hangouts or Google Chat. Select the action event as create message. Click on connect. Now here we have to give the chat webhook URL. For that, I'll just take you to my Google Chat account. So here I have already created some rooms that is Pabbly Connect and Pabbly Team. So I want to send all the messages to this Pabbly Connect room right now. We'll be using this particular room for the integration. So I'm just going to click on this small arrow sign. And here we can find manage webhooks option. Just click on it. Now here we are going to add a new webhook by clicking on this add another button. Here we have to give a name. So let us give it as Zoho Invoice and click on save. So here we can see that Zoho Invoice webhook is saved. Now let's copy this webhook URL from here and we will be pasting the same webhook URL over here. Okay. Now here we have to give the message. What is the message you want to send on your Google Chats platform? So here I have entered the message as new invoice created. And here I am just going to map the details of invoice number, customer name, its product, amount and invoice URL. So we have got all these details from our Zoho Invoice account from here in the trigger. So we will be mapping all these details now. Okay, let us map them one by one. First, let us map the invoice number from Zoho Invoice, and let us find the invoice number. Okay, here we can find the invoice number. Here we have to map the customer name. So let us scroll down. Let us map the customer name as Sonam Namdev. Okay, Miss Sonam Namdev. Here we have to map the product from Zoho Invoice, and the product name was Redmi. In the same way, we'll be mapping the amount. Come to Zoho Invoice and let us find the amount over here. So this was the invoice total. Okay, and at last we'll be mapping the invoice URL. Okay, here we can find the invoice URL. So we have mapped all the details. Now let's click on Save and Send Test Request. Okay, and here we can see the responses received. It means a message is sent on your Google Chats platform. Let's check it. And I'll just close this window. Okay, and here we have got a new message. New invoice created. Invoice number is this. Customer name, product as Redmi, amount as 25,000 and invoice URL. So in this way we can see that our integration is working fine. Now let's move back to Pabbly Connect and let us save this workflow first. Data saved successfully. Okay. Now as we have created an automation between Zoho Invoice and Google Hangouts, next time whenever you're going to create a new invoice on the name of any other customer, automatically your team is going to receive the notification on Google Hangouts. So let us check this in the real time that whether our integration is actually working fine or not. For that, I'll just move to Zoho Invoice account, and here we are going to just create a new invoice on the name of some other customer. Let's select the customer name as Sanjay Mishra this time, and here the invoice number is invoice 6, invoice date as today's date, due on receipt. Okay, let us select the item over here as Oppo 9X, quantity as 50. Okay, let's scroll down, and here we have already received the payment. I'll just remove this extra fields from here for the line items. Okay, and the payment mode is cash. I don't want to send the email, and let's click on save. The invoice has been created. Okay, so the invoice is created. Now let us check our Google Hangouts platform. We have to just refresh it. Okay, and here we have got a new message. New invoice created. Invoice number 6, customer name Sanjay Mishra, product Oppo 9X, amount as 500, and here we can find the invoice URL. So in this way we can see that our integration is perfectly working fine. So let's move back to Pabbly Connect, and I'll just minimize all these windows and let us see in a nutshell whatever we have done till now. So first we have created an integration between Zoho Invoice and Pabbly Connect. Then Pabbly Connect has captured all the details of your invoice, the customer details and the item details and all other details. And using those details, automatically a message or a new notification was sent to your team on Google Hangouts. And in this way, we have created a successful integration between Zoho Invoice and Google Hangouts using Pabbly Connect. So not just these software applications, you can integrate a ton of applications and automate your business using Pabbly Connect. In case of any queries, you can visit our Pabbly forum. To check the pricing details of Pabbly Connect, you can visit this particular URL. Also, the link of Pabbly Connect and this workflow is available in the description box. You can clone the same workflow into your account directly. If you really like this video, please comment, share and subscribe. Thank you everyone.